It's Manny's Mic Locker, and we're here with
Zach from Big Bad Sound.
If you don't know, Big Bad Sound is a studio located in Los Angeles, and it's not only in Los Angeles, it's kind of in one of the coolest hubs of LA. Lincoln Heights considered?
This is Lincoln Heights.
Okay, Lincoln Heights. So if you're familiar with LA, we have East LA, and then we have all the boroughs around it. Lincoln Heights is definitely one of the oldest cities in the United States. But anyways, they have a cool facility here. I'll give you a little quick scan of that later in the video. But first, we're going to be talking about his mic locker.
So I started the studio in 2000. I guess officially in 2013. We were kind of doing it before, but incorporated and all that. Yeah. And with my business partner Jack, who is here, but we're getting ready in Studio 2 for a session tomorrow. Just the two of us. We started in a house. We worked out that house, kept building it up, nicer and nicer, cooler gear, just reinvesting every penny we could into the studio, and then started outgrowing it. We started having to, I remember having to like drill holes through the floor and run long speaker wires under the crawl space to isolate an amp in a bedroom and have the drums in the living room, and it just became so crazy that we had to get serious about building a commercial facility. So in 2016, we started looking, found this building. It was a like stage prop, set design warehouse. And so hard to find a warehouse that was not 20,000 square feet. Like they're so huge, and then they're millions and millions of dollars. It's just impossible. Yeah. So we found this is only 3,400 square feet in a kind of, when I first looked at it, I was like, where are we? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Like, what is this area? And then after we got it and started coming here and having clients come here and stuff, we realized we're like right in the middle of everything. We're 5 minutes from downtown, 10 minutes from Silver Lake. We're like, it's east side, but it's really close to everybody.
That's where the real estate has jumped in this area, because people want to be closer to downtown, but then what comes with downtown culturally is not only work and business, but you're really like 15 minutes from Hollywood, 15 minutes from North Hollywood, 30 minutes LAX, so it's really not considered far.
Surprisingly central for the area. But yeah, so mid 2016, we got it. It took almost 2 years to get through permits and development, loan approval, all the crazy stuff, and then started working out of it March of 2018.
I've had a few bands that have come over and recorded. So I've actually come over here a few times and seen the place. So I was already a fan of what they've done. And if you are looking for a studio locally in Los Angeles, or you live in France, London, and you want to come to LA, definitely this is one studio you want to take a look at. I know Michael Beinhorn was in here recently, Nick Lene, Adam, they were all in here working, and so the quality of the producers that come here, I'm hoping actually myself to work here soon. I've got some ideas and I just got to make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Anyways, let's kind of get to the mic locker. Tell me about kind of your theory as I love the way you were kind of building up your studio organically. So maybe let's talk about some of the first mics that really blew your mind, and then we'll work into some of the latest stuff that you've got. D19. Oh shit!
And like this crazy original box.
This is one of my favorite mics. This is a D19. Ringo Starrs overhead, and also this can be listed as a D24, as a D119. The D119 will have a switch in the middle, so it looks like a no-no, like, oh, that's a cheap mic, but technically its internals are still the coveted Ringo Starr overhead.
It's shocking. It sounds amazing.
Well,
and they're still not terrible. Definitely under 1,000.
What a good one to start with.
Yeah, and then turned me on, I can't remember who, but someone turned me on to the 440 one.
Yep.
And if you put that right next to a drum kit and have a singer in it, it's so directional, it'll almost
never
not
get the
pick
singer.
up the It's
wow. This is a vintage one, right?
This is a vintage one, but they still make them. They still sound great. For a long time, this was my rack tom mic, but now it's mostly snare bottom, lead guitars, live vocals, pretty much anything. I have like a metal band, and I have access to some of the best mics in the world. This is my vocal.
Always. Wow, that's awesome.
But so these really early on, they've become weirdly really expensive, but at the time they really weren't. These are the KM84s.
Wow,
I have 4 of them.
It's like a cigar.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And I have one that after a shootout decided it has Zach's favorite on it. This is the best sounding one because all vintage mics are a little.
Yeah, they all sound different.
They all sound good. They're all amazing, vintage Neumann mics. But this one in front of an acoustic guitar is.
Well, this is definitely a cool little cigar box here for beautiful. You got it? I don't want to drop it.
I got it.
Okay.
I think my first nice vocal mic was one of these, and it became so indispensable that I got over the course of many years 4 of them.
Those are the EB?
These are the EBs with the C12 capsule.
Oh my god.
And now, you can take it out of the bag. Now they're crazy expensive, but at the time they really weren't.
Well, for those that wouldn't know, even though this looks like a 414, this was actually the grandfather of what people would consider a 414. These came with brass capsules. There is this thing about when they come with a nylon capsule, they seem to have less value, but at the time they were having a lot of issues with the brass capsules failing. So when you would send it back to AKG, they'd literally probably throw away the brass capsule, put in a nylon capsule. So if you do get one and it's nylon, it doesn't mean that something happened to it, it's factory. But that was the difference. And of course now people they look for the brass capsule, but if this was kind of like, how they show the caveman go from the monkey to the man, this would be the original one, and then it went to an EB. This is an EB, and then it went to a P48, which is almost the same one, EB P48.
Which I owned.
I have a P48 as well, and I put a brass capsule in it, and then it goes into the BULS 414, and it went down the line. But these original ones, the phantom power that you power these with, really made a difference in its sound. My P48 is true 48 phantom power, but as you went into the later ones, you can run them on a 9-volt battery, and they were just made more feasible, more realistic for consumer use.
Right.
But these ones, and he's got 4 of them, are probably some of the greatest AKG mics on the planet.
Yeah, these might be my favorite mic in the lock. This is the reissue, the collector's issue of the 47 FET.
Wow.
If you notice, I have bags on it. I really want to protect all my mics.
Well, smoke and dust and debris is a mic killer, so that's it. Now, I had a real 47 FET like this, and I can only tell you that when I put it on a kick drum, I was like, oh, Back in Black. That's how they did it. It's
perfect.
It's such a Queen. I think I saw a video of Queen, and they had one of these on every tom, and the guy had like 10 toms. And I was like, man, that is a small fortune. Here, I'll let you do it.
Hold that.
I got it.
So this was a Craigslist find.
Yeah, love it.
And someone who I think was either sponsored by Neumann or somehow got a hold of it was getting rid of it for nothing because he was a live drummer, and he was like, I don't really have a use for this, so I got it for very cheap. But kick drums, bass amps, a lot.
I see you have a Soyuz. What's in there?
Yeah, okay, so Soyuz. So the people at Soyuz are super, super cool. We did a video with them one time for the launcher, the little preamp.
Yeah, I know David and Kenny over there, really wonderful people.
And then we ended up getting these. They're the O13s.
I love those.
Backwards.
Those are the pencil condensers, correct?
Yeah, they are.
Wow.
They take a beating a little bit better.
They feel like they're really
so solid, right? Yeah, they're heavy.
It means a lot when you get a mic that that they've milled the inside and it's made well.
The build quality's so good, but yeah, I really like these. I'll use them often on cymbals. I'll use them on really tinny things like a 12-string.
Yeah.
It's so chimey.
So a little bit darker, but still have the detail of like KM84.
In a good way, slightly compressed sounding, the transient's a little easy to handle. The KM84, if you strum too hard, it will spike out. Almost like a tube mic would slightly compress something. So those are great. I use those a lot. And because they're smaller, we do so much live in studio stuff here that I like things that are a little bit more directional because we only have one booth and 2 amp blockers and then the live room.
Of course.
A lot of people are there together.
Yeah.
Here, check this out. So this I originally got for myself.
And you got this from Harbor Freight?
I got this from Harbor Freight.
I knew it. I saw it. I always see these. I'm like, these are really cool.
Well, the thing is, if you...
I know you got Pelicans over there for like 39 bucks.
No, this is a Pelican, and it's like $100-something. This is the same thing.
I know,
it's like $20.
That's another tip for
I wish I had known.
locker.
Harbor Freight Pelican
Harbor Freight.
case. It's the hack for sure. So this is really special.
Okay.
This is my Cam 56. I got it for myself originally, and it just gets so much better use here.
Oh my God! Even the way the caps, everything. This looks so crazy.
So what's cool? Do you know Stephen Paul, or who he was? So he was a mic tech, mic mod guy. He did a lot of famous mods for 414s and A7s, all kinds of mics. It has like a triangle. It says like SP on it.
Okay.
This was his, and so he just took unbelievable care of it. It's a Telefunken branded one. It's in like perfect condition.
Tell me, how did you even get hip to this, or why do you use it and how to use it?
I got hip to it through some like recording the Beatles book. You know, big thing. It was super common book. If any of y'all have seen Get Back, it's like almost every mic in the studio.
Now that's a condenser without a power supply, right?
It has a power supply.
Okay, so it's a tube.
It's a tube. It's 701K tube in it. So
where is the power supply?
So the power supply was built, this is why it's so cool, it's built by Steven.
Wow.
It has all of his original handwriting and stuff on it. It says custom design on the bottom, custom design and manufactured by Stephen Paul. He unfortunately passed away.
Oh, sorry to hear.
But his work, is amazing, and everyone really respects it. So having something built by him.
So these kind of just roamed around the Beatles studios, and they use it for everything.
They use it for everything. You'll see, I think it's a Let It Be cover. John is singing something that has this like circular windscreen on it. It's one of those. These get used primarily as rooms. Safest bet when it comes to just put it up and get a good room sound. Really tame in the cymbal harshness. Lots of body.
And this is new, right? It's not
this
a vintage.
This is a reissue. Yeah, this is an AEA.
Oh,
they sound amazing. They sound great on piano. The past few days I had it on vocal. Sounded wonderful. A female singer. And then I've used it on upright bass a lot. I've used it on piano, mono overhead, rooms, pretty much anything. It just works. And what's really nice about ribbons is that they take EQ.
Yeah, of course.
If you need to mangle it to get the sound you need for whatever reason, it'll just do it.
You can just go there's like a huge amount of headroom on those.
Yeah, and they just don't get as brittle as some condensers do when you start to try and get more out of it. They just like it.
Of all the series that AEA gets, I love the 44s. I've used the 44s, the N8s. I was actually... I think the first year they made the R84, I had a prototype, so I really got to love that one.
Love the R84.
And then a recent mic that's definitely on my list is the R88.
Have to get it.
And it just is like, God darn, that mic is just wonderful. But you were mentioning, because like your Coles use them, you were mentioning about how
I had them in the front of the kit this past week for like a Blumline stereo image, and if you get them too close to each other, they'll snap, or because of the magnets, they'll reject, and then you lose your 90. Such a pain. It'd be really nice to have the 88, which is just fixed and ready to go, and it's always in stereo.
And it sounds so huge, you almost have to bring it down. I mean, it's the widest.
I mixed.
It's almost like MS,
I just mixed a band from China called Shouting Nerd, and I'm not sure what the studio they went to was, because it was literally all in Chinese. Yeah. But the room mics wasn't, because they write in the comments in Pro Tools what mics are what on. The rooms were KM88s, and the room sound, I wish my room sounded like that. It sounded like as good as like the Ocean Wave room you plug in. Like it just, I opened up those mics and I was like, oh my God.
Nice. What's that band called?
It's called Shouting Nerd. I'm not sure. Nerd, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's kind of a translation of what their real name is.
I'm sure there's something that is interesting. I don't think anybody really knows about this, but I actually had gone to China with about 160 pounds of gear, and this was in the 2011 to 13. And I just went strictly to find all the coolest bands I could record, and I carried my own gear with me. But in doing so, I will say that the artists out there are some of the most unique artists in the world. If you get a chance, look up Chinese punk, experimental noise, rock, and you're going to get a treat. Really
crazy talented.
Really good bands.
The band that I mixed was
it on Maybe Mars, the label?
I don't know the label because I dealt straight with the band. They were on label. We had to get approval for the mix rates and everything. But just so talented, really, really cool. The guitar tones were made. I was just blown away.
Wow.
It was so fun. Okay, because we were talking about ribbons.
Yeah.
This has become one of my most indispensable ribbon, and some people don't
know that box. I know what that box
everyone
is.
knows this box. So what happened was I was doing a record with this artist named Similar, and I was playing most of it. It was a lot of like acoustic guitars and banjo and ukulele and all these like stringed instruments, and I wanted something just in the control room I can throw my headphones on it. And then we were doing percussion and all this stuff, and at first I had like one of my nicer mics. I think I had like an 84 or something up, and I was just getting too much detail. I was having to like shrink things down, and I ended up and pulling back on harsh things here and there. I ended up just throwing this up as like my 57 for the week, and it became unbelievable. Royer 121. I used it on ukulele, acoustic guitar, percussion. I used it on some background vocals when I just wanted to throw it up. It was on all the electric guitar amps. It was on my drum kit, like everything on that record. You know, I repair ribbons, and I was repairing ribbons for the last few years to just learn as much as I can about them, because I mentioned I have my own ribbon company, and I really wanted to educate myself in it. And I will say, of all the ribbon mics, and I mean, I'll say like AEA, some of the highest quality in how they cast their parts, and it's like really accurate to the vintage ones. But for making a mic that is so consistent, like the machining, the engineering, I think each part is numbered. This mic is probably every example of a mic that's made perfect, and that's why they are expensive, because I think Royer has taken the time they've just taken the time to make sure that every single mic is just, it's almost like a Bentley or something, you know what I mean? They just make it the highest quality, and it really is obviously sonically, and then when you feel it and its construction, unbelievable manufactured microphone. Yeah, and I'm just so impressed. Like, I love ribbon mics for mostly because of how hard you can process a ribbon mic. And we're all on computers mostly, so it does help. It does. And so, but what's nice is I can't put my Coles really close to a guitar amp. It'll tear. I can't put my 44 really close to an acoustic guitar because it's so boomy. Yeah. I can put this right up on an amp cab. I can put this on acoustic guitar. I can put this on anything, and it's like, just sounds good. Like a couple pop filters and the 44 on kick out. Yeah. Huge kick drum. And I've seen it. I remember Wes, the owner, or former owner of AEA, I think they sold the company. Did he finally? I think someone did. I may be wrong. I may be right. He was telling me that, he goes, oh, you know, have you ever used an R44 in a kick drum? And I was like, God, no. And he's like, all you do is you put it on a pillow and you lay it flat. And he says that will keep the ribbon from blowing. But are you going to really experiment with your $4,000 ribbon mic to find that out? But he told me that. That's what he said out of his mouth, and I'm going to take his word for it. Well, the pop filter for kick out, I put 2 in front of it, and I can put it inches away from the kick out, and it doesn't even sound like the ribbon's getting hurt. I'm going to give a little shout out right here. These are both 2 BK5s, and where did they come from? Oh, but Analoger, correct? Oh, Analoger, yeah, I forgot. Analoger has them listed for Michael right now. In my first episode, if you go back in time, I actually bought one of these right on the spot from Thomas. BK5s are some of my favorite ribbons, but Beinhorn I think these actually may be the Beinhorn ones used on Soundgarden. They definitely And so these are, you know, Black Hole Sun and all those tracks. I mean, we have a box of this stuff, but technically it's Beinhorn's personal mic collection. We'll stay out of it.
Fine, I'm sorry.
I would love to
touched your
show
mics.
you his beautiful 251.
No, forget that stuff.
But they're not mine.
All right, so now we're in the main tracking room, and please introduce us to your friends here. I will say they're all classy friends.
These are my big four.
All right, so we'll start on the farthest down there. What do we got?
This is the Flea C12 Vintage Series. This was something we got maybe in the last year of our house studio. We have a pair of them. I know.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I went to Boulevard Recordings in Blair, and Blair had some. I want to say he even had those.
I think he has these exact ones.
And I was like, oh my God. So mark that on your to-do list for Santa. Please be good.
Incredible sounding mics.
Oh my God.
They actually,
insane.
one of them's over there. They live on our big Atlas stands, usually with bags.
Yeah.
Because they just every day get rolled up for drum overheads or put on the piano.
Yeah.
They're so actively used consistently here that it's almost too difficult to put them away each time.
Of course.
So we just
You're
keep
just
them
going
on
to use
stands.
them. You know, a classic. So if you're unfamiliar with like why would they be using those are condensers that are world class, and I will say, like, Sunset Sound, Ocean Way to, you know, biggest studios in Europe, New York City, those are usually the go-tos for overheads for drums and for vocals if you want, but they're just known for being excellent, capturing that imagery, you know,
Crazy.
stereo, or sometimes people use them in kind of like an XY, or
I've seen that.
you know,
They do a little V with them.
yeah.
I like Space Pair overheads
I love
with
Space
them.
Pair. That's why I do
And
them.
then a lot of people ask me how they compare to the 414s because they have a similar. This is the remake, but it's a similar capsule.
Yeah.
They're different.
Yeah.
The capsules are the same, but the amp circuits are so
Electronics
different.
and even the
Different
imagery.
mics.
I'll say till ever, a really good mic has like a 3D sound. And sometimes if you have it on a drum set, like if you put a cheaper mic up and you have a guy bashing the cymbals, you're going to hear the cymbals before you hear the drums. But a mic like that seems to zoom in into the low end of the kick and the snare, and then the cymbals become like second tier. And that's always mind-blowing to me. My Altecs do the same thing.
Yeah,
you know?
something about, I mean, they're so sensitive that the height really matters. Like sometimes I used to just kind of throw up overheads, make sure it's roughly equidistant from the snare. These, I know my room so well, I can just kind of
Do you usually put
eyeball
them higher than usual, or do you still
I
measure
get a
them
little
out?
down.
Yeah.
I'll only go really high if I want a lot more shell out of it and get that distance for some of the low end to develop into the rooms. But because I'm close miking so much stuff, a lot of times they'll be, if the drum kit's, you know, standard height, cymbals maybe around here, they'll be 6.5 feet from the ground.
I have a question. This room reminds me of like Ocean Way. Is that what you guys were thinking of?
Our main influences for this room was Henson Studio B, the concrete floor and the wide.
I love the concrete floors.
And then Sunset Sound, I think it's 3. It's the one that has the same like Wayne Scott bass track around it. And then I wish we could have taken some inspiration from Ocean Way, but no, those are our main rooms. And then just little things we had to, like this structure acts as a diffuser, but it's really all our power from the city is behind there.
Oh,
and
shoot, okay.
We had to enclose it in a special way for code and stuff, but it also made like a humming noise, so we had to seal it off. And then, we just played a lot with, as we were building it, we would come in and listen and hit the snare. And, you know, we had this wall soft, and originally that wall was soft, but it didn't sound as good.
I love the way you did it. I love a room that's like this because then you can always baffle it off. And I heard that, like, I remember even Albini had told me that when he went to Abbey Road that you would think, oh my God, I'm in the Beatles room. But I heard there was a lot of issues with having, because the room's so big, like, I think, maybe that's too big, but this room is better to start live, and then you can work on deadening it, as opposed to having a dead room, and then it's almost nearly impossible to make it sound live.
A huge part of what we do is drums for a lot of people, because you can do vocals at home, you can do amps and guitars. if you want real
so they
drums.
can track their band here, go on their laptop, and
Exactly,
and
yeah.
then brag to all their friends.
Come
how
in
great
for a
it
couple
sounded.
days, cut a bunch of drums, cut a lot of loud amps, and then go home and do your thing.
Yeah.
So we wanted a good drum room. That was like number one on our list when we were building. We wanted space and size.
You got them sorted out with this stuff here.
This helps. This helps.
Okay,
But the
so
room.
tell me about this beautiful monster here.
This is the new
Just got it, right?
M49V. Just got it.
Brand new, like from Neumann.
I think they just came out like 6 months ago or something. It's a remake of the M49.
Of course.
I don't know if you know Klaus Hein, who does all the mic. I was talking to him about it because he has some very tough opinions on their 67 reissue and their Fat 47 reissue. He does mods to make them beautiful. We had an artist in, and their engineer brought the modded 67, and I was so blown away that
Same one as you have? And
it's a modded 67 reissue, because no one reissued the 67.
This is an original. Oh,
This is
is
an original.
Is that
No,
67 or
67?
Yeah, okay.
But I was talking to Klaus because I was considering buying the modded 67 for my home studio.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of production and mix work at home, because fortunately, this place gets busy and busy without me. So he was telling me that, after we discussed about what I wanted out of the mic, what I was going to use it for, he's like, this mic is the best thing Neumann has made.
He knocked it out of the
decades.
ballpark. Wow.
He has a very, very lengthy review on his website, and it's very positive. He does do some mods for it, which I'm considering doing, but it sounds
so if you get a new
good.
67, you would send it to him, and he does this thing,
and he makes it
to it
as good as some of the best vintage ones. He replaces the tube, he retunes the capsules, he changes out the quality of the cable, does some modifications to the power supply. He does a lot to it to really improve it. He said out of the box, he does mods to make it better, but he's like, this is amazing.
Well, I'll tell you one cool note about that mic is Alice in Chains, when they did some of their biggest songs, I think they were at Capitol Records, and they tested all the mics. And I think that this is the one that all those screams and those amazing vocals were done on. Yeah, the M49 worked on his voice the best of all of them.
It's so smooth.
Yeah.
Even this one, it's just...
All right, well, I'll have to put that then on my Christmas list.
You gotta check it out. And the one thing that's nice is it's reliable because it's
brand new. It's under warranty.
It's under warranty. It's quiet. You don't have to worry about a random crackle or whatever.
Have you used it yet or no?
Yes, I've used it on vocals and mono drums. Mono drums was just for fun because I had it. And
How was
it? It was cool, but the song we were playing was too aggressive.
Okay.
Wonderful. I kind of like that they put the Neumann, because the originals don't have the Neumann badge on the
And they have those like little kind of holes around the bottom, right? Or
so the whole...
there they are.
Yeah. It's so when it hangs upside down in the mount...
It like locks in.
Yeah.
I get it.
I guess you have to go from that side. But...
That's super smart.
Yeah, but it's made exactly the same. The only thing is it doesn't have the 701 tube. I think it has a 6SB6 Russian equivalent.
Are people putting the old tubes inside to try to get it?
I think that's part of Klaus's
But you can't
mod.
find those. Those are like expensive, right? $1,000
You're going to spend between $1,000 and $2,000. You can find them, and this is made so accurate you can put it in. The power supply will even work for it. Like it is exactly like the originals. But beautiful mic, and as far as they're not cheap, but the thing is so for what it is, it's a phenomenal mic. Okay, moving on. This is beautiful. I love it so much. It's great. This is my 67. She's very special.
Okay. What's the story on this one?
I got it from... This is a case of me being really aggressive and hunting on reverb. It came from France.
Wow.
The person was struggling to sell it. I saw how long it was listed. I kept hounding them, and eventually... They were just so ready to get rid of it that we came to a very, very cheap price.
Wow.
It wasn't a total win because when I brought it in, the power supply needed to be completely rebuilt.
It wasn't as it said.
Not quite. And you can see it's been sandblasted.
Holy smokes.
So the capsule's in perfect condition.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing, but the body got sandblasted. I don't know if it's for aesthetic purposes. I'm not sure why.
They wanted it to look kind of like the older ones, I guess.
Yeah, it's not matte like this, but I took it to Toby Foster's, my mic tech, one of the best to ever do it. He rebuilt the power supply.
Did he put a little sticker on it?
All my mics have little Toby stickers on it. I'm so proud of
Well, One of my friends hates it. He's like, why does he put the sticker on it?
I love it.
And I felt so bad because I have my own, I put my stickers on my mic. I'm like, oh my God, I'm making people mad.
Well, Toby's the man.
I love Toby.
He's
he fixed some stuff for me too.
He's the U.S. tech for, or at least the West Coast tech for Flea. Because we have a Flea U47. He had to retube it for us. Just tube died eventually. Okay. But he rebuilt it. He rebuilt it, and by the end of it, he actually called me. He's like, your mic is ready. I'm curious if you'd ever want to sell it. It sounds so good. I would love to have it as my benchmark 67
Holy smokes.
to take ones in. And I was like, no.
Right,
you should have told me it sounded terrible, and then you would buy it.
Yeah, then you would have been like, Toby, it's yours.
He's a very honest guy, Toby, really good
you got to not be so honest, man.
I know, but so, and it shows. We've done a number of records with, I mean, God, I don't know how many records we've done with this, but every time I use it, people comment about how good it sounds.
And I love it, like, you get the new ones and they have those big, like, shock mounts. And these were just the old school ones.
Oh, the classic mounts.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
So I wish I had one for
I know.
my 48, but...
Oh, speaking of that, you just gave away the cat's out of the bag.
If I had to sell every mic I own, I could only keep one, it would be this 48.
Then what's the story on this one?
This one...
looks really old.
It is really old. So the 48s they made... I think around 500 or so. They did not make a lot of them. It's towards the end of the run. So this
is that why they cost like $20,000 now or more?
They're actually
how much are they now?
More now.
What are they?
Well, the thing is, I don't know what they're selling for, but I see what they're listed for. I think like Analonger has one that's for 40 right now, but it might have some prominence.
Well, I think that's the one that was used by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, maybe it's something like that.
Yeah,
but somewhere between like high 20s and mid 30s. So. This one is super cool. I got it way back at the house studio. It was like one of the scariest decisions I had ever made.
I'm sure. Even back then, that was still a massive commitment to buy this.
I mean, it wasn't a like 10. So the way I got it was, it's a crazy story. So I was on Reverb. I was hounding this guy about, he had these two 33609s that were broken and he didn't know how to fix them.
Yeah.
And I kept making him lowball offers of like, I'll just buy them. Didn't want to sell them. He took them off Reverb and then he put them back on and I was like, hey man.
I'm still here.
They're not selling. Like I remember like being almost rude of like, they're not selling. Like no one wants them. You don't even know how to fix them. I will take them off your hands and I'll just figure it out. And you can I think it was offering like $4,000 for two of them, which was very cheap, but for him,
but for the broken,
he found them. He probably wasn't even an engineer or whatever, and so he eventually caved.
Okay.
I bought them, took them to Avitas. He was like, "Oh, these are just the wrong power supplies." Like I'm sure the guy inherited a bunch of stuff,
and they were just the wrong ones with.
So he put new power supplies on them, recalibrated them.
Avitas is awesome.
I know, Avitas so cool.
Is a company that makes preamps, but he's also a genius and. Avitas will be another subject someday, but if I have 4 of his MA5s, which are some of my favorite preamps on earth.
He has incredible equipment, and he's a great tech. He was taught by Jeff Tanner, who's like...
I have a bunch of Avitas stuff as well, and also Brent Averill. So it's like the family and the origin. Yeah. Avitas and then Brent Averill, they get mixed up, and any line of their gear is usually some of the best in the world. Right.
So he rebuilt the power supply to calibrated it, made sure the left and rights were matching and everything. Yeah. And I had 2 of them. These are Rev A, essentially the metal knob, 33609s. At that point, I was like $2,500 in or something, maybe less.
Yeah.
And so there's this guy who I really, really like, who goes by Arum Audio. He sells a lot of high-end equipment. Okay. And I told him I really wanted to get a 47. I'd be willing to trade one of these plus some cash. Yeah. He brought over either 4 or 5 of them. If I scroll way back on my Instagram, maybe I can find a picture.
This is a 47 and 48.
This is a 48. Okay. But he brought 47s and 48s. And I was actively working on a song with a client at the time, and I just told her, like, let's sing into all these. We'll play a little guitar into all of them. We'll put them on the piano. And he was really nice to let me kind of shoot them out. And blindly, let's say we record like 5 or 6 things. Way more than half the time, I kept blindly choosing this one. And they're all just, I had the SSL at the time, which is our Studio B console. They're all just clean SSL mics, no EQ, just they're mic pre's. And I kept choosing this one. And so he was like, all right, so I did a trade and just a little bit of cash. I think I was all into this mic at maybe $6,000 by the end of it.
What a treat.
The smartest thing I ever did.
Well, I mean, one thing people, you know, if you think about the fact that he gets this mic for $6,000 and what its value is, but like he just mentioned, we just went through thousands of dollars
so
of
much
time that you spend in studio. So every now and then, if you get a little mic guy that gives you something that can, you know, make it a little bit more pleasurable as you buy microphones, as you work on them. And that's another thing. At the end of every episode, I'll have a friend of mine, Coles, out of Nashville, talking about mics and the repair. Sure. We just mentioned Toby out of Los Angeles. You just mentioned, what's our homie? The guy that was that gave the confirmation.
Calistro Music.
Yeah. You know, so there's companies that you can go to get your stuff. So be realistic. If you're going to buy, like he even mentioned, some of these mics that he buys on Reverb, they don't come as they were explained. No. So you can't get heartbroken if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on getting a capsule reskinned, power supply redone, there was a wrong tube in it, capsule blows, and then you have to really work with having it not only reskinned but pretty much rebuilt again. That's just going to happen. You're going to have to suck it up and take your lumps and bumps. That's what you do when you own a studio. So,
and
you know,
the thing is, there's a lot of phenomenal companies that make really good remakes that sound amazing. And I have some of them, like the Fleas are great.
Yeah.
But part of owning a commercial studio in a competitive city like Los Angeles, you have to have some of these things to be taken seriously, or at least to be able to charge enough to keep a place like this open.
Well, here's the coolest thing. We're actually in competition here. I have a studio, but my studio is, as he's commercial, and not only can you have him make your record, but they have a slew of engineers and producers, like we mentioned, Nick Linné and Michael Beinhorn. They come here. My studio is basically strictly, I'm the guy.
Right.
Very people rarely ask me what kind of gear I have. They just want to make a record with me. That relieves the pressure of some of the maintenance and what you have to go through. I mean, when you have a studio like this, we're talking plumbing, cleaning, electrical, power grid, and you can get someone coming in and like complain about something that you'd be like, really? But that's their right. When you have a commercial studio, they come in here and they let you know. But it's honorable. I mean, I only respect for, you know,
I love
having to do that.
I love doing it, but we're essentially a hospitality business. We're here to make everyone comfortable and happy.
Where's my coffee, man?
It is. It is.
Where's the where your coffee maker's broken?
The first big record we did when we opened, the day before we finished building the room, but the day we finished building the room, the producer drove a Tesla, and he was up from Orange County. Yeah. And so every couple of days, either me or my business partner Jack had to go drive it to Burbank and charge it and just wait there for a couple hours so that it'd be ready for, like, we go to...
That's hospitality.
We do. I mean, we're selling an experience. They expect there to be good mics. They expect there to be good gear. They expect the room to sound good. When someone comes here and they're paying good money, or even they're an experienced engineer, producer, artist, they expect the equipment to be nice. They think there should be Neumann badges. There should be Neve symbols and APIs or whatever it is.
You get people being even snobby about like a reissue of something that was a classic, which is like they could actually, like, I would not throw any of these out of bed, but like they could come in and be like, oh, I only want to use the vintage one, or oh, that C12,
that
you know, but that's their, like, they may only use these two as opposed to these two, but that's just their preference, you know. But
a lot of times none of this is impressing certain people. It's just like, hey, it's here. I was at East West the other day. They had 5 of these in the room. You know, it's just
I know.
And they expect the room to sound good. They want the equipment to sound good. The one thing we can provide is not a 50-year-old studio with an unbelievable legacy, is hospitality.
That's it.
You know, we literally look at artist tour riders and buy a bunch of snacks and drinks, and they're just in the fridge and ready when they come in.
Yeah, that's so cool.
We do everything we can to make
I definitely have lacked, and I remember doing records, and I was doing a Breeders record, and like, Kim, don't hate me, but Kim's all, it'd be really nice, Manny, if we walked in and there was like a bowl of fruit or something. Oh my God, like I went to Smart and Final, and every day there was fruit and water. That was my first kind of, kind of realization that, not only are you giving something to them musically as an engineer producer, but sometimes they just want to have something nice or feel like have something for them that's even grabbing a drink out of your refrigerator. Like,
well, here's
they don't have to go to 7-Eleven and buy it. Like, they're going to get it. The story behind a microphone, the vibe of the artist, how they're feeling that day, the history of a mic, even though they may not even know what this is, but you're like, hey, Aretha Franklin and Stevie Wonder sing out of this, and suddenly they're like, wow, and they start thinking of the records in their mind. They go up and they perform, and they feel special. These are all the dreams that you sell, for
all these mics do help make my job easier later, but if they're not feeling it or whatever, if they're not in the right headspace, none of this matters.
Wow. Well, I think that's going to be a wrap. We've run the garden of their microphones. Thank you so much.
Of course.
For having me. And like I said, the craziest thing is I live walking distance from the studio, so it's almost ridiculous that I can't stop. I can't start like maybe making this happen to track some music here, and I'll let you know.
We're gonna make it happen
when it comes here. But anyways, thank you so much. I love the spot. I built 3 recording studios in my life that were definitely nowhere near the professionalism of this studio. But I will say that you guys hustle, and I mean that in the most endearing way, and take some notes on some of the things that he mentioned about keeping your studio up to par, making the artist happy, and just making sure, like, day to day, this place is booked and there's a reason,
right?
Good luck.
I appreciate it.
I'm Cole, and I own a business called Colpix Vintage, where I do repairs on ribbon and dynamic microphones. Manny asked me to come on and give just a quick pitch of my services. So if you need any help with any ribbons or dynamics, I work on a lot of AKG D12s, anything like that, any microphone that you need re-ribboned, I can help you out. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video of Manny's mic locker. I'm certainly pumped to check out all the videos. And yeah, again, if you need any help with any microphone repairs, I'm here to help. You can go to my website, colpixvintage.com.
It's pretty on the inside.